What's going on, you guys? My name's Ty Knots and welcome to Top 5 Unknowns. 5 people who disappeared in North Korea. Number 5. In March of 1970, 8 members of the Red Army faction hijacked a Japanese airplane, known to have been carrying about 122 passengers. After doing so, they made a quick stop at Gimpo Airport in South Korea to drop off a few of these passengers before heading to North Korea, where they were then granted asylum. One of the hijackers responsible for the event returned to Japan and was arrested in 1988. Another then returned in the year 2000. The remaining members are still wanted by the Japanese government, with 4 of them being confirmed as being alive, and 3 having uncertain whereabouts. Rumors circulated that at least 2 of the hijackers were killed in a landslide back in 1988, though Japanese officials have reason to believe that they may have actually been captured and incarcerated in a labor camp. To this day, the Japanese government is still searching for the remaining individuals responsible, though the fact that most of the perpetrators are dwelling in North Korea means that it's very unlikely that they'll ever be found, with it being widely expected for them to never return home if they're ever even seen alive again. Number 4. Keiko Remoto was a young woman who wanted to study English in London. Her parents were initially against this idea, but eventually agreed to let her go. Her studies were only expected to last about a year, though she soon sent her parents a greeting card from Denmark in July of 1983, alleging that she'd been offered a great job, with this being the last that they ever heard of her. Though in September of 1988, a letter from a Japanese abductee was found, alleging that he and Keiko were both kidnapped and taken into North Korea, where she'd supposedly given birth to 2 children and been forced to marry a man she didn't even love. After this letter was found later on in 2002, a prior member of the Red Army faction admitted to kidnapping the 2, claiming that they'd both been executed just a month after the letter was written. Though Keiko's family refuses to accept this, claiming that they still believe Keiko could be alive and possibly held in a labor camp. They really can't be sure, and sadly, we may never know. Number 3. A man by the name of Shin Sangok was known across South Korea as being an incredible filmmaker, so much so that soon-to-be North Korean leader Kim Jong-il requested that he be kidnapped and brought over to him, as Kim Jong wanted Shin Song to help create a handful of movies that he'd written. After being kidnapped, Shin attempted to escape and return home, though he was recaptured. He then remained with Kim Jong-il for the next 8 years, making 6 total movies for him, though one day he convinced Kim to allow him to travel to Vienna, where he was able to escape to the US Embassy. When questioned about the event, North Korea denied that Shin Song had ever been kidnapped, adding that he came to the country freely, only wanting to continue his career as a filmmaker. Strangely, many believe that this is actually true, and many still believe this to this day. Some claim that the filmmaker's career in South Korea had begun to die down, resulting in him seeking out new work elsewhere, with the entire kidnapping story allegedly being fiction, or simply a ruse to sell more movie tickets. Sadly, we don't have enough evidence pointing either direction to really be able to cast a fair judgment, so for now, we have no way to be sure. Number 2. Sehun Shrite was a young woman studying in Lebanon in 1978 when she was approached by 2 Asian men who offered her a job in Japan. She accepted the offer and left with the 2 men. However, rather than being taken to Japan, she was instead flown to North Korea, where she was forced to study North Korean ideology. After the Lebanese government caught wind of this, they contacted North Korea and demanded that Sehun be handed back over to her home country. And strangely enough, North Korea agreed and sent her home. Though after returning home, she found out that she was pregnant. She'd apparently been dating a US deserter who lived in North Korea, so she returned back to North Korea to live with him, where she proceeded to have 2 children. Years later, Sehun informed her family that she wished to move back to the US to raise her kids, still scarred from the fact that she'd been kidnapped and initially forced to live in North Korea. However, just a few years after this, she changed her story and insisted that she came to North Korea of her own free will, essentially as a tourist. To this day, no one knows the true story behind why Sehun went to North Korea, and it's unlikely that we'll ever find out. But I suppose for the time being, at least she's safe. That's more than a lot of other Korean kidnapping victims can really say. Number 1. Back in 1978, unbeknownst to many, North Korea had launched a secret large-scale kidnapping program in which they would abduct women from foreign countries and bring them back to North Korea to be handed over to their foreign defectors as wives. One of these women was an unidentified individual from Jordan, whose whereabouts were only made known after a South Korean abductee released her own story. The woman stated, "From December of 1978 until spring of 1979, I was living in residence number 4 in Pyongyang. During a walk, I exchanged a few words with a young woman of about 20 years old, who told me that she came from Jordan. At the time, I was wearing a wool hat that I had knitted myself. Through one of the guards at the residence, she asked me where I bought my hat. I told her that I made it myself, and afterwards knitted her one and sent it to her as a gift. To thank me, she then sent me her handkerchief for Christmas." To this day, this mysterious Jordan woman has not been identified or returned home to Jordan. While it's possible that she may have passed away by this point, many assume that she's likely still being held captive in North Korea, awaiting rescue from her home country, who likely doesn't even realize that she's missing. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep updated with our videos.